Okay. Okay.
Excellent. Now just change your
Appreciate you.
name. So,
Change my name.
so hit the three dots on your frame. Hang on. Go down to,
Rename.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. There we go. Okay, now can you move this to there?
So drag the top.
I did.
I know. Just go into there and then just keep going. Try it again. Now, it should pop.
No,
Sorry, Nikki. We're right there.
You're good. Take your time. You're my last one of
Oh,
the day, so it's all good.
there we
Are
go.
you okay with the note taker? Or if not, you can just remove it.
It's up to you. Do you want the note? Are you going to use it for anything?
It's nice to have as a reference, but from our end, just in terms of
Sure.
content, I do
That's
want
fine.
to.
It'll be in the recording. That's the only negative, but I
Oh,
don't care. It's fine with me. We're not
Oh,
using the video recordings for anything at this point. We will at some point, but it doesn't matter to me. It
okay.
can be there.
Just
so you can remove it, and then how do we? I can't see. Love.
just view regular gallery. There, that's fine.
Her to be. Okay, pin. Let's try that. There we go. Now
Okay.
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 Thanks, Nikki, for your patience. Nice to
No
meet you.
worries. Nice to meet you.
Good conversation.
Yes. Hi,
Yes.
Allison.
Hi, Nikki. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Good. Awesome. All right. Have you done podcasting before?
I have.
Okay.
I
So
have,
you
but
know
I
how
just
this all
haven't done the
works.
tech part.
Oh, that's fine. Nope. Just want to make sure you know how it all works and what we'll be doing and all of that. So yeah. All
Okay.
right. Awesome. Don't need that so high. I probably need that higher. Okay. So I'm going to start out by introducing the podcast myself and then you, Allison. Say your name for me.
Alison Beater Solway.
Beater Solway. Awesome. If you see me taking notes, it's because or typing, it's because I'm taking notes so that I don't have to do it later.
Perfect.
All right, here we go. Do you have any questions for me or anything?
No, I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Me too. So the first thing I will do is ask you, tell everybody who you are, what you do, and anything else you want the people to know. And that's where you can, plug anything you want to plug, talk about whatever you want to talk
Okay.
about. And then
Perfect.
at the end, I'll also like wrap it up with okay, now let's remind everybody where to find you. And that way, you'll get to say it a couple times.
Perfect. Okay. So for the purposes right now, it's an audio recording, not a
Correct.
video.
Yep.
Okay.
Now the video may be used at some point. We've threatened, wrong word,
Right.
but we've said we're going to use them, and here we are, like
Right.
almost
Okay. No
almost
worries if
year
you do.
4, and we're not using them. So there you go.
Okay. Good for
Someday maybe.
you.
Yeah, almost 4, almost.
Wow.
All right, here we go. We are already recording. So, hello and welcome to Let's Be Real Mama Journeys. I'm Nikki Brooker, the host of this podcast. And in our podcast, we like to explore motherhood in a way that is honest, real, and authentic. And in studio today, we have Allison Beater Solway. Hi, Allison.
Hi, Nikki. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Where are we finding you today? Where are you located?
You are finding me rather in Toronto, Canada.
Oh, you're a
And
Canadian.
yes, Canadian. Exceptionally hot summer we're experiencing
What
here.
does that mean to you? What is a hot summer to you?
Oh, it's about 35 to 40 degrees. The humidity is quite intense. It's oppressive almost.
Okay, sorry. I'm going to do this thing where I go, what is that in Fahrenheit? It's 95 for those of us in the United States.
There we go. Yes.
So okay, that's fair. That is a fair, holy crap, it's hot. I couldn't
It
agree
is.
more. I don't like the heat. So and as an American, I would like to apologize to you. There, I just said it. So
Oh,
sorry. Sorry.
I appreciate that. I
I'm
appreciate
sure you
that. You're
do.
not making the policies, though.
I certainly am not. So anyway, tell everybody who you are, what you do, and all that fun stuff.
Thank you. Well, I'm Alison Beater Solway, and I'm a mother of 4. I am a fitness professional and I run an online fitness platform, absfitness.ca. That started during COVID when gyms closed down, and I started doing free workouts online and developed this wonderful group of women primarily. And I help strengthen, women over 40 all across Canada and the US.
Love that.
And it's a wonderful thing helping women get stronger physically and mentally. I'm a new author. I just published my first book called The Miles We Run. It's about my journey to motherhood, something that I'm sure we'll speak on today. And it really looks at the resilience I needed to find to get through infertility and surrogacy for three of my children. And I'm a runner. I decided for my 50th birthday a few years ago to run the New York City Marathon.
Oh, dear heavens.
And yes, it was quite a wonderful challenge, very hard. I couldn't do it when I was 50 because of COVID, but I did achieve it when I was 51. And while I was training for that marathon, the same qualities that helped get me through infertility and surrogacy started to show face getting through my long distance runs. So, discipline, perseverance, grit, and I use the analogy of running throughout my infertility and surrogacy story. Because even though most people won't use a surrogate to have their children, and most people will not run literal marathons, we all have run metaphoric marathons. Nobody has a flat road. We all have hardships, obstacles, and hurdles to overcome throughout our lives. And this is really a story and that resonates with readers about reflecting on their own hardship and their own narrative through mine about the resilience and the strength that they have within themselves.
Hmm. That's
So,
fascinating.
yes, thank you.
FYI, somehow we lost your video feed.
Oh,
Hang
okay.
on.
Yes,
I'm going to
you
ask you to
did.
start
Hold
your
on.
video.
Start my video.
There you go.
There we go.
That was weird.
Okay,
Somehow you just
good.
disappeared. Well, that is such a fascinating analogy that you connected between parts of your life and your infertility or fertility journey that I think is really important for people to hear that it is like it is a marathon. It is not a sprint. And I just had another guest on the show today that also had infertility for baby number one, but not two or three. And I said, "Is
Right.
that?" I don't know a lot about infertility. I've never been. Fortunately, I was fortunate I didn't have to have that journey. But is that normal to have it for the first one, but not others?
I think anything is normal
Hmm,
when it comes to
fair.
infertility.
Yeah.
And I know many women who had struggles conceiving their first and not the same struggles conceiving their second or third. I know women that weren't able, without the help of IVF, so in vitro fertilization, conceive their first or second child, and yet had a second or third child with no help. So I don't know if there is any rhyme or reason.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you're blessed with, an easy road to getting pregnant and carrying the pregnancy and delivering a healthy baby. And sometimes you're not for so many various reasons.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. It's so interesting. Tell me again the platform, the fitness platform.
So it's www.absfitness.ca. So abs is my initials. It's also your abs, Alison Beater Solway, a little bit of a play on word. And yeah, it's a strength training for women is
Okay.
so essential. It's crucial for our mental well being, but for our physical well being as we age, going through perimenopause and postmenopause, and our bone health, our joint health, our muscle health, our brain health.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
So, yeah.
But I just clicked on your website and that picture of you on the front is badass. That's a
Oh,
great picture.
thank you. Thank you.
That's a good one. Okay, so let's
Awesome.
talk about your mamahood journey. How old were you when you became mama, and how old are your kiddos now?
So I was 27 when I was able to birth our first daughter. It was a very challenging pregnancy. So at 27 years old, I gave birth to her. And my kids now are 26, 22, and then I have twins that are 20. So
Wow.
two
Okay.
boys that are 20.
Awesome. You don't look old
They're
enough
my
to have
babies.
27-year-old, but okay.
Okay, well, thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so had baby number one at 27. And so how long did it take for you to get pregnant with her?
It took literally me looking at my husband, and we were then looking at a pregnancy test that was positive.
Okay.
So there you go. But my pregnancy was, I was the first of all my close friends to
Mhm.
have baby number one. I really had no reference for pregnancy. I had a very challenging pregnancy, but didn't even really realize how challenging it was until I was in right congestive heart failure, giving birth to my daughter. My obstetrician kept telling me that I was okay. It was the symptoms I was feeling were normal, just a little bit excessive. And I finally listened to that internal voice telling me, you are not okay and get yourself to triage.
Oh,
And
during
yeah,
during your pregnancy, and how far into your pregnancy were you almost done? Were you almost
I
at
know
40?
I was 8 months.
Okay.
I had just finished my seventh month. And my daughter was born at just a little over 3 pounds. She was tiny.
Oh.
But thank God she was okay. It wasn't her issue. It was my issue. My heart couldn't withstand anymore the blood flow. There was just too much. I was very swollen. I speak about this in the book. How this was a lesson on advocating for oneself when you feel something is not right. It is important to listen to that voice. And unfortunately, I didn't learn it that well during pregnancy. I was forced to learn it again during our infertility journey.
Uh, you
And
know,
that it has stuck since then.
oh, good. Well, sometimes
Yes,
it takes more than once to hit over the head, right?
absolutely.
And I get that. So I think this is such the most important lesson in this episode that we can talk about is the advocacy for yourself.
Yes.
I think there's so much noise in our world, specifically in our country, constantly, right? There's just so much noise. And so you don't want to be that hypochondriac and you don't want to be the squeaky wheel, but you also want to do what's best for you and your baby and the health of everyone involved. So then there's this weird balance that you go back and forth. Well, do I say something? Do I not say something? Do I want to be a squeaky wheel? Do I want to look like I'm crazy? Do I want to, like, all of the things, right? So you have all of these pressures and these unknowns. And I don't know if this is normal. Is this normal? I've never done this before. My body's never done this before. I don't know what's happening. And so I think it's really important for us to talk to moms, women specifically, well, men too, but like it's okay to say, this, I don't feel like this is normal. I don't feel like this
Right.
is right.
That's so important. Everything that you said is true.
Yep.
I think that, you know, especially as women today, we're so busy that we tend to push that little voice down or that
Yep.
intuition down because we don't have the time or we don't want to know or we're just not able to access the help that we potentially need. And as you said, I didn't recognize the symptoms I was experiencing because I also had a professional tell me that what I was experiencing wasn't abnormal when it actually was. And I think what it's so important that women do is, yes, advocate, also educate, but be curious. And when you're dealing with professionals like doctors, make sure it's a partnership. yes, they have degrees and yes, they have so much knowledge, but there is nothing wrong with asking questions and being curious and being a partner in your healthcare. And this doesn't even need to only apply to healthcare. This needs to apply to all aspects of, all of our lives. Be
Yep.
curious, ask questions, educate yourself.
I couldn't agree more. And I think also, I mean, there's the fine line of going down the rabbit hole of WebMD,
Hmm.
where, by the end of me reading something, I'm like, oh, I guess I'm dying of cancer because I had a pain in my head right here, right? Like, so I get
I
that. I
think we've
get
all
that
been there.
we've all been there, every one
Yeah.
of us. But the gaslighting that happens with people who have more certificates and pieces of paper that think they know your body better than you,
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
happens so much more often. That's not well said. That's not so often that I think that
Yes.
we as women and we as compliant humans who just want to be the good patient and the good girl and the good boy just go, okay, okay, okay. But that little voice in the back of your head's like, mm-mm, no, 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 something's not right here because this doesn't
Right.
feel right. And I don't think this is right. So
Right.
I couldn't agree more that advocate, but educate. I agree that it has to be both. But then also like listen to others. I think lived experience needs to be, and peer experience needs to be better respected as a method of understanding what's happening in
Right.
every piece of our world, right? Don't
Right.
get me wrong. I think medical school is fantastic. I think a lot of people learn a lot of things. And I think there are people who are very intelligent who go to medical school and they learn something that I don't know. And I get that. But you don't know my body. I've been in this body for almost 51 years, and this is me. I know me. You don't know me. You know what the human body is supposed to do and supposed to
Right.
look like and supposed to
Right.
be, but you don't
Right.
know my human body. And so I
Right.
think that's so important is that we take a step back and say, I can appreciate your education, but you need to appreciate my experience.
And that's why it needs to be a partnership,
Yep. Yep.
not a dictatorship.
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
uh it's very important. And a great example of peer support in what you're
Yep.
speaking on is women going through perimenopause and postmenopause and how women are now talking about it finally, thank God,
Yep.
because I'm in the throes of perimenopause and I sometimes don't recognize my own self. And it's so comforting to know that I'm not alone in this,
Yeah.
that I'm not going crazy, that the
Yep.
rage I'm feeling sometimes is normal,
Yep.
that the bloating I'm feeling is normal,
Yep.
that, the sleep deprivation and the nights like hot
Night sweats
flashes
and the hot
and
flashes
sweats.
and
Yeah, that I'm not
yep.
alone.
You are not. You are not. That's the name of my nonprofit. My nonprofit is Yana, which stands for You Are Not Alone. And that's
Yes.
what the whole idea is that peer support can be life changing, can completely change your mental health. Because when you sit in a room full of people who all are going through the same things and going, yep, I feel you. I'm going through the same thing, as opposed to sitting in my closet crying because I think
Hmm.
I'm the only one going through this and I must be
Hmm.
crazy. You're not
Hmm.
crazy. You're more than likely
Right.
not crazy. More than likely,
Right.
you're normal, but you don't know that. And you don't want to say anything because you don't want to look like the bad mom or the whatever, right?
Of
Couldn't agree
course.
more. Yes, totally agree with you. Totally
It's funny though, because yes, so many more women are discussing, our journey through menopause. However, there's still such a stigma attached to infertility that when you're, in that doctor's office and you're waiting on your blood test to know where you are in your cycle, or you're waiting for an egg extraction to get your eggs out so you can then look at the quality of your eggs or your husband's or your partner's sperm, or you're looking at the embryo count, all of these things. When you see other women or couples going through this, there's that connection.
Yep.
But then you pull out of that, and it's very hard to speak about when you're going through it,
Sure.
because it's unlike anything I've ever experienced. And I speak about this in the miles we run, that it's a very isolating, time of life to be challenged by going through infertility, your body not doing what it's naturally born to do, and getting through that because there's such desperation involved in wanting to have a child and not being able to do it on your own.
Yeah. Um, you know, on a different level, I experienced that with breastfeeding. So my body did not create milk. I just didn't. I
Right.
tried everything, did all the things. And it was 5 weeks in with my first baby back in 2000. And I was pumping and trying and doing all the things. And we were supplementing with formula. And I felt like a complete and total failure. And then my cousin called me and said, "Hey, has anybody mentioned to you that nobody in our family produced milk?" Nope,
Right.
sure didn't.
Wow.
And I was literally sitting on my bed. I'll never forget it. I'm talking to her on the phone, sitting there pumping, and I took the pump and threw it across the room. And I was like, and I'm done. I mean, the fact that she said that to me, and I wish she would have said it sooner, but lessons learned. I was like, oh my gosh, you just changed my whole feeling on
So
being a mom.
validating.
Just like
Yeah.
validated the fact that your body doesn't work that way and it's okay
Right. Right.
and move on. That's why they made formula and it's all good.
Right.
So, and a fed baby is a happy baby. And guess what?
Absolutely.
All three of my babies are bottle fed and they're all perfectly fine. So I totally agree with you in that isolation because I kept putting on myself, but this is what my body's meant to do. But what if it was the 1800s and we didn't have formula? And my husband was like, but what if it's not? What if it's the 2000s and we do?
Right.
Like, how about we just use it? And I was like,
He's a
okay,
smart
but it's
man.
so expensive and I wanted to do the free version. And he was like, well,
Right.
that didn't work
Right.
out. Right. So,
Right.
yeah. So I get that. And I understand that isolation and that feeling of like, but this is what I'm supposed to be able to do. Yeah. Well,
Right.
we're also supposed to all be able to walking up and down the stairs and some people can't. And some people, you know
Yes.
what I mean? So
Yep.
it's one of those things that I think we just have to be more realistic in the fact that sometimes our bodies are made to do things and sometimes they just don't.
They're not.
And that's okay. Yeah.
That is okay.
Yeah, it is okay. So tell me what you feel is the biggest challenge of being a mom. What do you think is like, wow, this was something I didn't kind of expect or this is a big deal?
Well, for me, it was a little bit unique
Hmm.
because I became a new mom in essentially an episode of ER. That's what like my birth for my daughter was. One of those end of season finales
Oh.
where, you hope everything's going to turn out okay, but you're not 100% sure. So my foray into motherhood was a bit unique because my daughter was in the NICU for 4 weeks. I was in intensive care myself for 2 weeks before I was brought down to a lesser, like the cardiac unit.
Wow.
And I think I skipped almost a soft landing that many new moms experience. I just kind of went right into the like, oh my God, I will say that when we brought Hannah home, that's our eldest, from the hospital, I was like just amazed that I was in charge of this life. You know,
Crap. Now I have to
I
keep this alive.
yeah. So, but there was such fear, I think, and it was overcoming that fear that, something would happen to her in her crib, or, she wasn't getting to get enough milk, or as you just spoke on, I was breastfeeding, but then I had to stop at 3 months and she was going to go on to formula. Would that be okay? And then it turned out, obviously, I didn't give birth to my three sons, so they were all bottle fed through with formula. And it wasn't like, wow, I have this, you know, oh my God, what do I do? It was like, oh my God, I'm responsible for this life, but I am so grateful that I have the
Sure.
opportunity to, have her, and that she lived through the trauma that we both went through and that I survived it as well.
Yeah. I think, but you know, it's so funny. I was talking to another guest about this, about how I think we feel specifically as, I mean, if you think about the way that our brain works as women, we have spaghetti going on, right? And we have all the synapses going on and all the things all at the same time. But yet we feel like a lot of times we think that we're only allowed to have one emotion at a time. Well, that was such a beautiful time. But you know what it can be? It can be a beautiful time and it can be hell at the same time, and that's
Very true.
okay, right? I think that we have to normalize the idea that not everything is butterflies and rainbows all the time, but there's some butterflies and rainbows, and there's also a dark rain cloud, and there's also lightning, and there's also thunder, and there's also, and it's okay. That's life, right? And there's every once in a while there's a beautiful rainbow with the sunshine and rainbow,
Absolutely.
but not always. Like that's not the norm.
That's my favorite Dr. Seuss book. And I give it to as every baby gift, My Many Colored Days,
Oh,
which
I don't know that I know
explains,
that one.
oh, it's the best.
Hmm.
It's a board book. I think it's actually in paper too, but I've always purchased the board books, just explaining how colors relate to feelings and how
Mm-hmm.
you can be sad and happy and angry, and all these feelings are okay.
Yep.
Some you feel simultaneously and some you don't,
Yep.
and
Yep.
exactly as you said.
Yeah. My favorite is the movie Inside Out. That's my
Yes,
favorite
yes.
way to say you can't have anger, sadness, frustration without joy. Joy is a big part of it, but you also
Right,
have to have all the others. It's not one or the other. It's all,
right.
we all work together. Yeah,
Well, if you don't have pain, how can you know what true joy is?
exactly. 100%. I agree. Who is your biggest supporter while you became a mama?
For sure, my husband Kenny.
Yeah.
He's been my biggest supporter, period. But you know, we went through a very challenging time, giving birth to our first and then conceiving our first son, Aiden. It was
Okay.
a really hard road, and Kenny was my partner every step of the way. And you know, we learned to be partners in parenting before we even knew what we were actually doing.
Yeah.
So,
I
and
love
we,
that partners in parenting. I like that. That's a good way
yeah,
to say it.
yeah, we still are. We still
Yeah.
are, which
Good.
is lovely.
Yeah. So tell me, you said you birthed your first, but you did not birth the other. So explain that a little better.
So, Hannah, after about a month after Hannah was born, I was diagnosed with a genetic condition called hereditary hemorrhagic telangiectasia, HHT for short. It is definitely a mouthful.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's a vascular condition. I don't need to go into it really that in depth, but at the same doctor's appointment where I was told that I had this condition, my heart essentially pumps too much blood from my liver on a good day. So,
Hmm.
when my normal is double the amount of blood that, say, you would pump through your heart, when you get pregnant, your blood flow doubles. So
Oh,
mine quadrupled. And that is why I went into congestive heart failure. And so I was told that same day that I could not carry any more children or I would most likely lose my life, because my heart just can't sustain that kind of blood flow. And I was absolutely devastated.
of course you were.
One of the hardest days of my life by far. I still get emotional about it. It's still raw. And it's interesting. I don't think I'll ever get over that, even
Hmm.
though I have the most beautiful family. I'm 54. I'm not looking at having any more children.
Uh-huh.
It's just,
Being told
it's
you can't. Being told
exactly
that
wasn't my choice.
you're done. It's not your choice. I get to make the choice if I'm going to
Yes,
have it or not, and if I'm going to continue or not. And that choice was taken away from you medically by
that's right.
no fault of your own, right? Like by
Right.
no fault of anyone, just,
Right.
a fluke. So that is heartbreaking. It is something
Yeah.
I think, you'll carry with you forever and have that letdown of, but I wasn't done yet.
No, I wasn't. And I knew that I always wanted more than one child.
Sure.
And in that same room, I stopped listening to what she was saying and I started thinking to myself, how am I going to figure this out?
Yep.
What road are we going to take? And I had heard of um I had heard of surrogacy. I didn't really know what was entailed in the process.
Okay.
Remember, this is a time when there's no Google. The
Yeah.
internet was new,
Yep.
but there was no,
Nothing like it is now.
no chat GBT to
No,
tell
no,
us,
no.
how to go about finding a
Yep.
surrogate. So there was a lot of education I had to do, a lot of cold calling connections to different clinics who, figuring out lawyers and anyways, we ended up trying in Canada with two carriers for a couple years. And then we went into the US because we
Hmm.
could not find success here. The doctor that we dealt with here, I felt, in well, it didn't work, but in hindsight, very unethical, very I think his desperation almost mirrored our own. It was unexplained because I didn't think I had a fertility issue per se.
Sure.
And I wasn't, again, here's the second lesson I learned when we went into surrogacy, I didn't really ask any questions. I just wanted another baby, and the only thing I saw at the end of that road was a baby. So if I was told to jump, I jumped. If I was told to sit, I sit. And then when I started asking questions and recognized that I really hadn't been duly diligent and I was smarter than that, I don't think the questions I was asking were well received, and it was time to pivot. And that's exactly what
Hmm.
we did. We did 8 attempts, IVF attempts in Canada, and then our first IVF attempt in the US, our carrier got pregnant with our son.
Wow.
Now, a lot of, in the book, I speak to this. It wasn't easy finding the right surrogate. We had a
Sure.
lot of difficulties. And even Aiden's pregnancy was very challenging. Finding out we were pregnant was one of the happiest days of my life. And he was a twin, and we had to make a very challenging decision into the pregnancy because one of the fetuses wasn't growing properly and would have overtaken the entire pregnancy. So we
Yep.
had to reduce.
Yep.
And, I can't help but think about what's going on in the US now. And if I had to make that decision now, what I would do.
Uh-huh.
So really,
Wow.
very hard decisions, very challenging pregnancy. And, thankfully we were successful and Aiden was fine and healthy. And then we had some frozen embryos and we decided we would try again. I was never going to go back on the meds, but we thought we were using the same carrier in the same clinic. And we got pregnant with our sons, Rowan and Caleb, about a year
Wow.
and a bit later. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. What state
So
did you end up using? Like, where did you?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania is a very surrogacy friendly state.
Oh,
So each state has different laws governing
sure
surrogacy.
do. Sure
Yeah.
do.
So Pennsylvania, and they have changed over time. Not much
Mm,
has changed, I will say that,
mm.
but some states are more surrogacy friendly than they were
Yeah.
26 years ago.
Yeah.
But Pennsylvania, we could put our names on the birth order. There are some states in the US where you have to adopt your genetic child.
No way.
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Uh,
Mm.
and
I can guess what color states those are.
Right. You know what? It's funny. I think surrogacy is legal now in New York, but when
Mm.
we did this, the clinics in New York wouldn't even implant a surrogate with our egg and my husband's sperm. And there's two types of surrogacy. There's gestational surrogacy, and then there's traditional surrogacy. Gestational surrogacy is when there is no genetic relation to
Okay.
the surrogate. So that's what we did, my husband's sperm and my egg, and
Okay.
it was implanted as an
Sure.
embryo into the carrier. Traditional surrogacy is when the surrogate actually has a genetic that it's their egg. So
Their
they
egg.
have a
Sure.
genetic connection. I don't think that's it. I know it's not nearly as common as gestational surrogacy, but obviously there can be a lot more issues with traditional surrogacy than gestational surrogacy when
Sure.
somebody's genetically attached.
Yep. Yep. Well, thank God you did it when you did it. and you had success and it worked out. Are you still close with the surrogate at all?
You know what? I speak to her occasionally. She went on and did this for, I think, three or four more couples. So yeah,
Wow.
she's had quite a number of children for other intended parents.
That's
She's a
amazing.
wonderful, wonderful woman. Like I
That's
will
amazing.
never forget her
Oh,
generosity.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. That's great. Um, I can probably guess what your worst mama moment was, but what's been your best mama moment?
That is a really hard question. There is no best mama moment. I think even though, as you explained before, you feel joy and heartache in the same moment, I think all my memories with my four children have been the best, some of them the worst at the same time. And
Hmm.
I can't pinpoint a particular best. I also think the way I became a mother, through my very difficult birthing of my daughter and then to my three boys, I've parented in a way that like gratitude is weaved
Hmm.
into my parenting. And I am super constantly aware of how blessed I am to have the family I do. So I can't pick a best mama moment. There's
That's
too many.
okay. I love that. That's a great answer. And I love that you were open to learning and accepting and feeling all the feels and then carry that into your motherhood journey, which I think we all do in our own ways, but you had a pretty profound creation of motherhood and then motherhood. And so I think that that's really important to notice and to honor that
Right.
you did that. And
Right.
not everybody does that. So I think that's really impressive for you.
Thank
And
you.
then all your also your husband and your kids. Like it's an important thing to carry with you and then pass on to them as like this is big. Now any of your children have your heart condition?
So it's a genetic condition. I know it seems like it's a heart condition. It's actually it's a like a vascular
Oh,
condition.
okay, got it.
It affects the
The
heart
heart. Okay.
because so HHT it's a 50-50 chance of genetic
Mhm.
transfer,
Mhm.
and it affects everybody differently.
Oh, okay.
So I have two gene mutations,
Okay.
and two kids have one of them, two kids have the other, and thank God nobody has the disease like I do.
Oh, okay.
So, and it wouldn't have prevented, I live a
Yeah,
perfectly normal life. I'm an
sure.
athlete.
Yeah,
It wouldn't have prevented me from
living your life.
doing
Yeah,
like having children. But now, genetic testing is so much different than
it's
when I
amazing.
had my kids.
Yeah, yeah.
So, there was an amnio or CVS, which I speak to in the book because we did that for all three boys, given what we went through with Aiden's pregnancy. But now there's so many more things you can do with embryos before you even put them into the uterus.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's
And you can
wonderful.
tell from the beginning if there's a boy or girl, you can tell like
Right,
everything.
right,
It's just
right.
science is so fascinating.
Yes, it
Fascinating to
is.
me. If only we listened to it and only we
Right.
paid attention. I don't know. It's a crazy thought. So what do you wish you would have known if you could pick one or two things that you wish you would have known before you became a mom? I imagine you probably wish you would have known you had this genetic issue.
I
Although,
don't
do you? Do you wish you would
No,
have known that?
no,
No?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't because I think then my path would have been different,
Uh-huh. Yep.
and I wouldn't change anything.
Yep.
If I had known, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would have done, but
Sure.
I don't think I would be where I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
For sure.
So, I wouldn't change anything. I think what has stayed with me the most is that it's the worry factor. And it's not that I'm a massive worrier, but it's an interesting, reflection to think about when you decide you are ready to have a child, you worry about getting pregnant. And then you get pregnant and you worry about the pregnancy.
Uh-huh.
And then you bring this life into the world and you worry about caring for, and are they feeding, are they growing, are they hitting, the specific, milestones that they should be hitting. So there's so much worry to even becoming a mother. And then, you it doesn't really end. And I'm at a transitional stage right now with my children that they're all adults. They're finishing their undergraduate university experiences. And there's still the worry that it's an undercurrent of, is everyone okay? Are they all, I'm very confident that all my children are good humans, but there's the things that, mothers just tend to worry about.
Yep.
And now I'm so much more empathetic to my own mother,
Mm,
and how now I understand why she worries the way she does about
sure.
me. And again, it's not like somebody who's like always worried and,
Yeah.
anxious. And it's that undercurrent of concern that I never thought about before becoming a mom,
Yeah.
that all of a sudden it doesn't go, it will never go away. It will
Never.
always be there.
For as long as you possibly live. Yep.
That's exactly right.
So true.
So,
Yep. And you're not, and it's funny though, because it we say, I love that question of what I wish I would have known. And then I stop and think about it and I'm like, but if I would have known that, or if somebody would have said that to me, would I have listened anyway? It's kind of like that whole like, oh my gosh, enjoy every minute because it goes by so quickly. And you're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm in the thick of it. This is freaking hard. And I haven't slept in 2 days. Like, I'm not going to miss this. And then now looking back, right? Mine are 25, 22, and 18. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of miss it. Like I kind
right.
of miss,
Right.
right? And it
Because
was,
you're not dealing with like parties and
yeah,
alcohol and like
yeah,
all the things that come through
yep,
like teenagehood. And
uh-huh,
yeah, you're thinking about, oh, they're not sleeping because they're cranky or they have colic. I'll take that over worrying about, what they're doing at a party. So yeah,
yep,
no, it's all relative. And when you're a new
it
mom, you're
is,
not necessarily thinking about what they're going to be doing in their teenage years and onward. You're
yeah,
thinking about, oh my God, exactly. I'm sleep deprived. That's the
yep,
only thing I care about right now.
yep,
And I don't think I would have done anything different either. I don't think I would have recognized even at 26 when I got pregnant that if somebody said you're just always going to worry, I'd
yeah,
be like,
okay,
what does that
so
mean?
I'll worry,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So it took on a whole new meaning.
yeah, I agree with you. Anything else you want to share with the people?
Um, I just, motherhood is just such a privilege, even in the
Mm,
hardest of seasons. And it has been my greatest blessing. And, you know, there have been soul crushing moments
mm,
throughout the past 26 and a half years. And there have been just some of the most special moments, but not even huge moments, just sitting around the dinner table, laughing with the people that you created or the people that you raised and that you get to grow with and that you get to learn from. And I think it's just so important to give ourselves as moms a little bit of grace. We're learning right alongside our children.
yeah,
There is no perfect mom.
yep, 100%. And I wish I would have known that. That's something I wish I would have known and was able to give myself a break a little bit more and be okay with not being perfect and be okay with, you and I both like had social media, but not really like we, started out with it, but not like it is now. Not
Right.
like it's
Right.
so
Oh, I'm
rampant
sure it
and
can be exhausting now because you see
yes.
social media as a mom and you think that, you're looking at someone's like edited clip. of
Yep.
what they want you to see as them as a mother.
Yep.
You're not getting the full picture, and that must be really hard.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Allison, this has been lovely.
Thanks, Nikki. It's
Thank
been
you so
so
much.
nice. Yeah, so nice talking to you too.
You too. You have a great story. Excited to get people out to read your book, The Miles We Run. And your website. And I put that in your write up. So everybody take a look at that and go find her in Toronto.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we'll see you next time on Let's Be Real Mama Journeys.